All right. So I went and I did have a message saying that I think the stream that I was listening to was I don't know if I was listening for too long at one point that it was copyrighted. I don't really know. I'm definitely gonna have to go look more into it, see what the problem was, and try obviously not to do that. So I appreciate you guys coming back, and yeah, we'll just kind of go from here. So Freddie, appreciate all the highs, brother. Anyways, so yeah, so just got back from Minneapolis. We just did the Into the Breach podcast with Ethan Nagel, and also got on later that day over the phone with Green Beret Chronicles, and we did a quick like 30-minute video over because you wanted to react to my Joe Kent video. So we did that. That should be out later this week. And then the Into the Breach podcast, we ended up talking for almost 5.5 hours. It was a really good conversation. I think Ethan does a really good job of, he's a really good interviewer and honestly a great conversationist. So, and that will be out tomorrow morning. So you guys will see that Into the Breach podcast. When he does, I'll set up a link and we'll put it out and you guys can watch it. We definitely had some really good conversations. We went into depth about Iran, about Joe Kent, and a lot of the other issues that was going on. Also dealing with the overall positive, trying to make the overall vet bro community more positive, if you will. So, Eric, appreciate you, brother. And Random Capybara. What's up, brother? Jean-Pierre, brother, haven't seen you in a minute. Hell yeah. I know. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, and, we're trying to do the right thing in Callie's honor, trying to help people out. Since she helped me out for so many years, kept me alive. And here we are. So, yeah, apparently me in live streams and trying to do screen share is apparently cursed or something like that. So I'm going to do some more research into it. And so for next week, that I'm able to do a stream while being able to screen share and then also not get my YouTube lives removed for policy violations. Because the only thing that I can think of is that I was watching those video clips for too long. Because I stopped watching it, we hit pause, and then it came back up. And then we started watching it again, and then it took it down. So I thought it was okay because it's under fair use. And then I looked up online, is there a certain amount of time that you should watch it before you stop it and then discuss it? But there wasn't really a time. So I don't know if anybody else has any experience with the whole doing live and watching videos during it. Honestly, I might need to reach out to Brent and ask him if he has the same thing for you guys. Same problem when he does his live streams. Haven't seen you in a minute, sir. Appreciate your effort trying to bring some good to soft influence. And honestly, I'm not the only one. There's multiple guys who feel the same way that I do, and definitely been in a lot of conversations. Every guy that I've had the chance to go on a podcast with or do some sort of collaboration with, this is one of the things that I talk about and I try to push and then we have that discussion like, what can we do as a group to continue to better improve this overall community? Because we can start with the vet bro community, and then obviously we can try the American community, if you will, especially the male American community. Like, just start there, continue to what are the issues that are going on, and so. Do you think white soft is applicable today? It's still applicable. It's just not very widely used. For white soft really to be used in the modern era, we kind of have to be in a major conflict with people on the ground, because if they're not, the administration just uses the tier one guys, and that's basically who gets used. So in peacetime, tier one units are constantly being used. They're constantly doing stuff. Fortunately, tier two units aren't really doing that much. They're still going on trainings, still might be going on J sets and other like training missions with foreign partners, but not really much past that. Let's see. You are lacking in style. Oh, I know you're not talking about me, I rap. Definitely not talking about me. Do you see just what happened an hour ago in Texas? Failure oil refinery experiment, one of the biggest in America. I have not seen that yet. I have not been on the news. So you wanna drop some details on what happened? YMWLM? It'd be appreciative. Maybe we can actually, you know what? I'll look it up. Let's see. Valor Oil Refinery. Guess I can put this over here. It's a shame. I was really excited about. Wow. Did not know that AOL was still a thing. Stupid reason. Yeah, this report just came out 20 minutes ago. Earliest one I've seen is Shelter in Place, Port Arthur, 2 hours ago. This came out to Shelter in Place. Let's see what the news says about this. Well, I appreciate that. So Darian, I think you said something that I don't know. See, I saw your message and then it just really immediately retracted it. Anyways, let's see. White versus black meaning traditional soft units like Raiders and SEALs compared to Timbercraft. Yes, that is true. Like the Rangers constantly train to support JSOC, don't they? Well, they constantly repair. They constantly train to support all their missions, right? And obviously one of them is to train JSOC. So, Michelle, good to see you, girl. Let's see here. All right, you guys are distracting me. I'm trying to report explosion of Valero. First responder rushed to the Valero facility in Port Arthur after a reported explosion sent a thick black smoke into the sky. Shelter-in-place order was issued by the west side of Port Arthur. Sheriff Zenas Stevens says the explosion was likely caused by an industrial heater. A video sent by KDUFM Gabriel Koenig showed giant clouds of black smoke from the scene. And that's all that's been said right now in this report. Jean-Pierre, most definitely. But there's a lot of redundancy in mission creep and white soft, SEALs in the mountains, Green Berets with dive school, Raiders doing. You're not wrong. So the traditional way of we've done things, where you have one MOS, you have one job, and then you get a group of people who they have their individual jobs, and you bring them together, and as a team you accomplish a certain mission. That's not necessarily the best way to do things. It's a way that we've done it in the past, but there's a reason why most units nowadays have organically created capabilities within their own unit. And let's even just take the military out of it. Let's take the CIA. The CIA used to be human, And then the NSA used to be just SIGINT. But now the CIA has the Directorate of Science, which is basically their wing, their capability does almost the exact same thing that the NSA does. And Delta has done it. SEAL Team 6 has done it. You know, they had the ISA, which was their intelligence group. And then they grew their own intelligence squadron. So there's a lot of people building their own organic capabilities within these particular units, right? And I understand that it's better to have the capabilities within your unit than need it from another unit and then not get it, if that makes sense. So there is going to be a lot of redundancies, and that may or may not be a good thing. I think it is. I think it's good to have redundancies to a certain extent. Uh, you know, everything's kind of nuanced. Like everything's not just such cut and dry. It's either good or it isn't. Um, I definitely think I have my own opinions about what the CIA and their over bloated budget is, and pretty much they just do everything that they want and however they really just incorporate almost every capabilities you can, you know, for better or for worse. All right, let's get in here. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. Questions. Having on the ground experience, do you think there can be a conversation about Islam culture and the U.S. inability to enact a lasting regime change in Iran now? Seems we're very bad at country building. So I think the thing is we don't need to do is we don't need to be the one who decide how that country gets built. We need to let them do it because one, hey, it's at the end of the day, it's their country. Let the people of that country do it, and then two, we then can't get blamed for it. So I think it's a win-win situation. Unfortunately, for it to happen, to make sure it happens, we'd have to go in there, which I don't think that's a good idea for a number of different reasons. Yeah, 22 Mike. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this whole stream sharing thing where we can watch videos. I'm gonna do some more research, try to figure out what I did wrong and why I got taken down. But we'll get there, okay? I'm a one-man show. I do all this shit myself, and for some reason, I suck at screen share. It is what it is. Beer Shark, good to see you, brother. Deep Sea Mike's apparently operational planning is no longer a thing. Well, you know, it's the famous quote by Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And apparently technology and YouTube has punched me in the face a couple times in the last 48 minutes. So it is what it is. I'm doing my best. Joe Ken is pretty base. Didn't know the secretive unit he was talking about in the Sean Ryan podcast long ago, but it was about the same unit you were in. Yes. You know, I tried when I started my YouTube channel not to even say the unit's name. And it didn't matter. They still threw an investigation at me. And, you know, now that I know for a fact it's okay to actually say the term ISA, that's why I don't mind saying it anyways. Plus, it's been outed by so many books and so many other publications that it's fun. Makes sense. Same in business. Goes vertical and control outputs and outputs versus outsource everything. Thanks to the inside. Alessandra Griffith. Good to see you, girl. Miss you. Jean-Pierre, good points. I love that Mike Tyson quote. Well, and if anybody knows me well enough, I will constantly say that I have a face that people like to punch. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So kind of like the PT teacher yelling at the fat kid at the gym, run faster. Seems like these Middle East countries don't want it. American colonials did. Now 200 later, we are the superpower. So I would say that is King Blunderbuss. That is a when it comes to specifically Iraq, that is a true statement. Of all the cultures that I've been involved with in Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, I found the Iraqi people to be culturally the laziest people that I'd ever dealt with. And I think definitely one of the reasons why what we tried to do in Iraq, partly because of the tribalistic aspect of their culture, but also they're kind of a lazy people. The Afghanis, not as bad, but the Iranians, we actually had, and we are in a unique scenario where the Iranians, one, actually want this, and they're actually a very hardworking people. Like anybody who's ever met Persians, they're no slouches, especially like the ones who are outside of Iran. Like they're all very successful. Like most of them are doctors. I have yet to. It's very rare to find a Persian or an Iranian within the Iranian diaspora to be to not be successful. So, plus they have a pretty rich culture when they're not being subjugated by an Islamic regime. So, run Fenon run. What is Stoic? Stoic is referring to Stoicism, which is one of my philosophical foundations of how I live my life. Appreciate it, Tiger Club. You have a good night, brother. So, PC specifications. I have a very powerful PC. I don't know if you guys can see, but I've got multiple monitors and a PC which I built because actually by tradition, I'm a gamer. I don't really game as much anymore because I don't have time for it because it takes up too much of my time. But I built this whole thing myself. So, you know, YouTube may be kicking my ass tonight, but at least I have, you know, occasionally I'm good at technology. So, yeah. Anyways, what's some of the best Intel services you have worked with? Well, first of all, we should define the word best Intel services. Probably one of the most effective, I'm going to use this word carefully, effective are the Mossad. But I think I've mentioned on here prior that we don't necessarily agree with what some of the things that they do, or do we trust them from an intelligence point of view? The British intelligence services are pretty good, and the German intelligence services are actually pretty good as well. But they all kind of compare, they all pale in comparison because they don't have anywhere near the level of funding that we do. And funding is a huge thing. Like even like when you want to take tier ones units, right? The SAS is a very effective unit, but they are nowhere near our tier one units just on the basis of funding. Like our tier one units have so much more funding, it's ridiculous. And because of that level of training and everything that they're able to get on a constant basis just makes them that much more effective than the SAS, which is, a little sad because the SAS is the original blueprint for all tier one units. So King Blunderbuss, you were a little after 03 invasion. It just seems like we make our own mess. We took our Saddam and now we created ISIS. I don't want the vacuum with an oil-filled country to result in Iraq. We definitely made a mistake invading Iraq. I'm going to throw out this scenario real quick. If we had not invaded Iraq, we had all the political capital to do whatever we wanted to, right? And we spent it on Iraq. If we would have used that political capital, let me back up real quick. Invading Iraq created a number of issues. It destabilized Iraq and then actually created a power vacuum, which Iran actually filled. And Iran was already our problem, or was a problem, and actually turned into a bigger problem. And one of the reasons it turned into a bigger problem, by the power vacuum that we created in Iraq, we actually gave them more power and actually gave them access to the Iraqi Shia militias, and especially after the 2014 ISIS invasion, they really solidified their hold of Iraq and made the Iraqi their puppet government, because the Shia militias are really what stopped the ISIS invasion. Obviously, we helped out a little bit. If we had, now let's go back, not invaded Iraq, but then we invaded Iran, used our political capital then to take the country and then give it back to the people of Iran, one, Iraq would be still stable and would have a government that was actually secular, because the Ba'ath Party, even though they were Sunnis, they were a very secular group of people. Like, they were not about Islamic fundamentals at all. But then you would have then gotten rid of the number one purveyor of terrorism in that region of the world. So, but that's not what happened, and here we are. So, but we should always be, I think that's a good point, King Blunderbuss, just because we one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing with Iran right now is because of the lessons that we've learned prior, right? So I think that it's good we're just doing airstrikes, we're just taking out the Navy, we're just taking out the missile programs, right? I think from the United States side of things, we're doing a good job as of right now. But it's possible that we could do some missteps. I think that Israel has already done some things that we weren't not exactly fans of. It's my understanding they attacked some oil fields we told them not to. So that's an issue. Yeah. Let's see. Probably before RAM prices went to shit. Yeah, I haven't seen. I built my computer setup. Let's see. I modernized it about 2 years ago. I probably upgraded all the RAM and the graphics card about 2 years ago. Do you think civilians edify those who served in special operations? Let me get back to that question real quick. Have you played Uncharted 4? I have not. I haven't done Uncharted 4, and I have not Red Dead Redemption 2. The last Red Dead Redemption I played was the first one. George Muhuro, what do you think civilians edify those who served in special operations? All right, I'm going to be honest. I actually don't know what the word edify means. I'm going to look it up. See, I don't know everything. It means to instruct, uplift, or improve someone morally, spiritually, or intellectually. So to instruct or uplift someone morally, spiritually. Why do you think? Oh, okay. I think I know what you mean. Are you saying that why do people like look up to people in special operations, George Humero? Is that what you mean by that? Michelle, so all the tier 1 type units in the world, we are the best funded by far. I would probably say, so one, we have 5 tier 1 units, and not all of them are funded the same. Like RRC or RRD is definitely smaller than the other ones. I actually don't know how big 24th SDS, but Blue, Green, and Orange, or ISA, Delta, and SEAL Team 6 are much larger, and they have a bigger budget than the other ones. And then their budgets, I don't know, I'm just as more of a guess, but Delta probably has a budget that's probably about 10 times larger than the SAS. So, where do you see the next conflict area in the world being in the next 10 years based on all your experiences? That could be anywhere, Red Eagle. It really could be anywhere. There are a lot of problems going on, and they're constantly evolving, they're changing. But I definitely think that if the Islamic Republic is still around in 10 years, it will continue to be a problem. China is playing the long game. They're trying to essentially gain power through both economic and political means. and they're going to avoid a fight no matter what it is. So we're not. It would be highly unlikely for us to be doing any sort of conflict with China directly, and Russia. We'll probably be having some issues with Russia depending on what happens in the next number of years. It'll be interesting of how Ukraine ends up, and then after, like, let's just say we find peace in Ukraine, whatever agreement they come between, Russia will kind of go back. They'll probably sit back for a couple of years, and they'll probably make another move on something. So Beer Shark, what do you think about Trump lifting the sanctions? They just a move to help the stock market, or is there actually a move made in good faith for negotiations? I'm not quite sure, but I know that we're not going to go in and we're not going to be doing boots on the ground. We've done enough damage. I think we've done what we originally wanted to do. And now Trump is always somebody who negotiates from a position of power. And so the more he causes damage, the more he'll kind of go back and be like, hey, here, now we can negotiate. But if he doesn't like the deal, he's not going to take the deal. So I think it's going to be constantly offering, making negotiations, doing offers, and if not, he'll continue to strike until he's satisfied with what's going on. So it's definitely a tactic, and he's definitely negotiating from a position of strength. And if he's not getting what he wants, he's going to go back and just continue to gain more strength and continue to attack them until they come up with a deal that he's okay with. Let's see, King Blunderbuss. I don't disagree with you. My failed foreign policy goes back to Vietnam. My generation is now deeply mistrusting of another forever war. Absolutely. And you have to remember, so if anybody's watched any documentaries about Desert Storm, one of the things Schwarzkopf and a lot of the other generals who were involved, Colin Powell, they were officers in Vietnam. And one of the reasons before we even invaded Iraq, in order to help, and then like going into Kuwait and attacking, the Iraqi forces, they started the Yellow Ribbon Campaign. And because they wanted support for the troops, no matter what happened. And that was one of the biggest lessons they learned. And they learned a lot of different lessons, but that was just one of many that they implemented, right? So we just need people who are in charge to remember, like, hey, what were the mistakes we made? Let's be honest about it. And then what do we do to go fix it? Because that's what we have to do. We have to admit when we make mistakes. We're human, we're a country of humans. We're going to make mistakes. As long as we have the best intentions, that's how we go forward. And we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to have the humility that we can admit our mistakes, and then how do we learn from them? And then how do we project that going forward? And that's how we get, try to be the most, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And we are the most powerful country in the world. But also, luckily, I feel like morally, we are one of the strongest countries in the world. And that is very necessary when you have this much power. We have to be the beacon for morality because we have so much power. And how do we continue to do that is we need to continue to look at ourselves day in and day out. What are the mistakes we're making? How can we be better? And if we don't learn the lessons from the past, we're just doomed to repeat it like Rome. We could just be the next Roman Empire. But we are in a unique position that we have enough knowledge and access to history that we don't have to repeat those mistakes. So how do we not do that, right? And I think one of the issues right now is how divided our country is. So we need to be able to have conversations with people we disagree with and not just jumping on tribal camps and conspiracy theories and whatever. Anyways, are you afraid that maybe there are foreign intel operatives on the internet asking you questions of fish for the guise of being fans? No, because I'm not in the military and I don't know jack shit. I'm not in. I don't know what's going on. So there's nothing that I could provide or would provide that would compromise anything. So we're good on that. What books are you reading? As a matter of fact, I am currently reading. Let me pull it up. All right. So okay. I like sci-fi books, and what I do is I read one sci-fi book at a time, and then I read one, think of it like a book that helps me uh, build myself, like either not necessarily self-help book, but it could be a self-help book or something that helps me. Right now, I'm reading The Hero with 1,000 Faces, the collected works of Joseph Campbell. If anybody knows about this book, right? So Joseph Campbell wrote this book. So he outlines that there's a universal motif of an adventure and transformation that runs virtually through all mythical traditions, literature, everything like that. And it's basically the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is in almost every single mythology. It's in the Bible. And he basically points that out, shows the similarities, and basically kind of details how the hero's journey has been represented through almost every mythology and every religion in the history of mankind. So I'm reading that right now. Let's go back to your questions. Chicken Stars, just want to point out I'm not a Russian agent. Chicken Stars, that's what a Russian agent would say. I'm just saying. Team House Cap. Joseph Campbell, like in The Power of a Myth. Yeah, it's good so far. I just started it because I just finished the Red Rising series. Has anybody read the Red Rising series in here? I just finished book 6, and now I'm waiting for Red God, which apparently is supposed to come out this year, which I can't wait. Long live Reaper. That's all I've got to say. Let's see. What is your take on visualization? Is it real? Do you visualize being where you are now when you are younger? Any good books on this topic you recommend? I think definitely visualizing is a good thing, because when you think something, right? When you think it, your mind starts. If you think long enough, your mind will actually start to believe it. And this happens on a number of different levels, right? So if you frame something mentally in a negative way, and that's how you always think about it, that's how eventually you're going to look at, not only your brain is going to kind of like rewire itself, but that's how you're going to look at the world. Like you're going to look at everything through whatever the opposite of rose tinted glasses. Let's call it dark tinted glasses. And so by constantly, but if you look at things in a positive way, right, that has a better chance of that becoming your reality. So if you're visualizing that you're going to be successful and you tell yourself you're going to be successful, right, you definitely have a better chance of actually being successful. And I just think that, like, especially if you look at things from a positive level, right? No matter what happens to you, especially if it's failure, right? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest issues is people are afraid of failure. You should not be afraid of failure. Failure is one of the greatest teaching lessons you could have. And if you want to build solid success, you have to fail to get there. So when you fail, and if you have a positive outlook on it, like that's the quickest you're going to recover. You're going to be like, okay, cool. I made a mistake. Let me learn from it. Let me push forward. You are going to achieve success faster because you have a positive outlook on everything that happens. And that's just another example. So to put it simply, yes, visualization in its own way is a very good thing. And I do think it's real because the more you think about something, the more your brain, that becomes your reality, because that's how your brain presents it to the world. So Fallen Angel 35, I hope that was helpful. And then I hope that answered your question. So, all right. Were you always a highly motivated, disciplined person, or was it something you learned? As a matter of fact, no, I have not always been a highly motivated. I think I've always been a highly motivated person, but disciplined, I've had my ups and my downs, right? And that's the thing is like I thought I was successful like early on in my 20s, but I definitely have not really come to the person that I know who I finally am. Like what was that quote that I quoted the other day about life starts at 40. Everything else, everything else before that is research, right? And I really feel that because it's like almost right around when I turned 40, it's like everything clicked. And everything leading up to it and all the failures that I had, even though I thought I was successful, were what helped me get me to this point. And I've had moments in my life where I was disciplined, but I've also had moments where I got lazy and I made some mistakes. So it's this constant reinvention of myself, learning from my failures, keep going on, and it gets better. It really does get better. Only if you're able to learn from your mistakes. And you're able to, and honestly, be able to forgive yourself. Because that's definitely something I did wrong. Is when I would make mistakes, I would beat myself up about it. And then even if I got past it, I would still have that regret lingering there. And that doesn't help anybody. So as soon as something happens, learn from it, forgive yourself, and then move on. I'm telling you, that's the quickest way to success and for a quickest way for you to become the best version of yourself. Chicken Stars, I don't know if you are, some of my questions, are you familiar with the Special Collection Service in the NSA and the CIA? I am, as a matter of fact. I have dealt with the Special Collection Service on the regular when I was in the unit. I have a question. Why is it always cold in MEPS? Even in wintertime, it's cold in there. That's a good question. Honestly, have not been in MEPS in 21 years, so I can't really tell you, but maybe it's I have no idea. Maybe they're too cheap to pay for air conditioning. That would probably be my guess. Fallen Angels 35. Isn't fear of failure a good thing? If we were afraid of failure, won't that make us more likely to fail? Was fear of failure your primary motivation of youth selection? So I think with a lot of things, you can look at certain things in a different way, all right? So let's go back to your question. Isn't fear of failure a good thing? If we aren't afraid of failure, won't that make us more likely to fail? No. So what I mean by this is fear of failure prevents people from doing things, from trying it, right? So the fear of failure, like people will be like, oh, I want to go to selection, right? But they're afraid of failing. Or they're afraid of opening up this new business because it might fail. As long as you pull the trigger and you go and do it, that's the fear of failure that we're talking about. Once you get past, they're like, hey, I'll go do it. Then once you're in it, right? Obviously, you want to give it the best you can. So that's really where the fear of failure comes in, is because people, because they have the fear of failure, they will not do things. They will not attempt things. And that's the most important point. Attempt it. Attempt it. Fail at it. There are so many people who go to selection and fail. Like, let's take Brent Tucker, the Tier 1 podcast, one of the most legendary Delta Force operators there is, storied career. He failed Delta selection the first time. He went back and he passed. You cannot be afraid to try things. And that is the fear of failure, I think. And that's where you need to focus on. Once you get in, obviously get it your biggest try. And then if you're talking about like, oh, I'm okay with failure, so I'm not going to try. No, just do the attempt, try as hard as you can. And then if you do fail along the process, or anything that you can learn from it, and any mistakes you may make along the way, learn from it, forgive yourself, don't regret, move on, and you're good. So, yeah. Any idea what the casualty rates Iran has taken so far? Last time, there's conflicting reports about this, but let's look this up. Last time I heard it was like over 5,000. All right, you guys want to guess what it is? So as of March 23rd, 2026, Epic Fury and accompanying strikes have caused over 5,000 Iranian security force fatalities and over 15,000 injuries. The U.S.-Israeli coalition has targeted 15,000 plus locations, significantly weakening Iranian naval capacity by over 120 vessels, including all 11 submarines, alongside high-ranking military officials. So yeah, so apparently we've killed over 5,000 people, and we've wounded over 15,000. Right? That might be slightly inflated just because it is reporting from us. Obviously, we want to report the best number. It might be something number that, but it's probably somewhere around that. Probably. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so fear of failure is only bad insofar it holds you back from pulling the trigger and trying it. Yes, exactly. That's how I would say it. When you say you reinvented yourself, what identity did you adopt at 40 that you didn't adopt when you were younger? I think being okay with failure, because when I did fail at things, I would beat myself up about it because I did expect so much from myself, whether it was sports, anything like that. And when I did fail, I definitely would sit and I would beat myself up a lot. And I think even when I did get past it, I think I still regretted it for a while. Now I live with zero regret because every failure I have now is a part of, as long as I've learned from it, and is the things that I built towards the successes and the successes that I still will build. And I'm going to continue to fail at some things, right? I'm in the process. Let's just take this whole social media thing, right? I'm doing all this myself. I am learning how to edit videos, like this stream. I tried to put this on this program StreamYard, and so we could watch the video. We could watch the Joe Kent Tucker Carlson video because I hadn't finished it. And apparently, I watched it in a way that it took down my live because it says I violated I violated policy guidelines or whatever. I think I probably watched the video for too long without stopping it and elaborating. But that's a failure unto itself. Am I going to beat myself up? Granted, I get it. It's not that big of a failure, but it's still something that I'm constantly learning. That's everything is just like one little thing at a time, right? So, yeah. So the biggest thing is I definitely, when I do fail, I don't beat myself up anymore. So I think that's probably the biggest difference from when I was younger. And I probably continued to do this until flight school. And then I went through some really heavy stuff in flight school. And ever since then I used the concept of Stoicism and probably a little mix of Buddhism, if you will, to pull myself out of that hole. And ever since then, it's just been this forward trajectory where I'm just continuing to try to just improve upon myself, and no regrets no matter what happens, as long as I just continue to learn from things. So Dorothy Wizard, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the 279. Was Joe Kent in the unit? Yes, Joe Kent and his wife were both in the unit. And that's actually, I met Joe on a number of occasions, and I was in the unit when I met Joe. Do you think Israel's actions in Gaza constitute a genocide? I don't think that it constitutes the definition of a genocide. I think that there are certain things that the Israeli government does in that area, whether it's Gaza or Lebanon, that they definitely do things with a heavy-handed fist, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that they do. It sucks that you can't believe any journalist or official reports from any side anymore. Yes, William Barry, that is true. But the one good thing is because of social media, we have the ability as a community, or as a people, like as the American people, or even like the world, that find we can shoot holes in the propaganda, and we can hold ourselves to a higher standard by demanding critical thinking, critical analysis about things. And when they do send out propaganda, we as a group can be like, nah, that's BS. Don't even care about it. And we just downvote it, whatever mechanisms we have. And then we together, as overarching group, can just say no to this crap, and let those mass media outlets just continue to die. Because at the end of the day, if we don't give them pay for their services, these companies will eventually fail. That is one of the beauties of capitalism, right? If we don't buy into it, because the customer's always right, those businesses will fail. And the media, these major media corporations, a lot of them have been losing money because of we've sort of wised up to the BS that they try to push, right? I think we've definitely gotten better as a society, but we could get better. But there's also some YouTube content creators out there who continue doing the same stuff that we stopped listening to mainstream media for. So we as a group need to be better about this. But we can't change other people, but the only thing we can control is ourselves. So the only way that we can help to do our part to help change our culture for a better way is we have to embody what we want to change. So be that person who's okay, open-minded, use your critical thinking skills. Don't immediately jump onto things with your confirmation bias. And do that, project that through your own actions. And you know what? People will see it, and that gets contagious. And that's really how we change this culture, right? It's hard. It's not going to be easy, but we need to be the ones who set the example. Is it true your mind stops developing at 25? Were you able to notice after that? Is it harder to learn and grow? I don't think that's what they mean, but your mind stops growing and developing at 25. You can definitely change. Because you think about it, right? Every single day, you can learn something new. I think prior to the age of 25, what's going on in your mind is very volatile, right? I think that you start to become the person who you're going to be for the rest of your life, into your 30s and your 40s. But there's no reason that you cannot still keep learning, keep adjusting, keep trying to understand the world from an open-minded thing, right? And there's so many people who have changed their minds, adapted, changed, even completely reinvented themselves in their later years. That's completely possible. So just because you're 26 years old or something past that does not mean you are stuck in your mental views, right? The only people who are stuck in their mental views are closed-minded idiots, and they exist on both sides of the aisle. Yara BB, Shannon was the best even though she wasn't in the unit. She was actually in the unit. Yes. 2 things you can do to others. Go on information to computer. I think it's actually 30, 35. Your frontal lobe keeps growing. Steady, stop following people 25. Probably. All I know is I am 41 years old. I'm gonna be 42 this year. And I am excited about continuing to grow as a person. Because I don't know everything. Absolutely. Because you don't know what you don't know. And one of the things that I do like about this this job or this venture that I'm going on It forces me to learn through things. And one of the things I really like about these lives is when you guys ask questions, it really makes me think. And then some of these questions, I actually don't know the answers. And then I go on here and I do research. That's one thing I do. I love research. I love doing deep dives into stuff. And I learned so much from doing these lives because a lot of you guys just come in here and you ask me questions or you drop knowledge I didn't even know about. It's awesome. And I am a sponge. I thirst for knowledge so badly. And one of the reasons why I'm able to do that is because I understand that I don't know everything. Right? Humility is a big part of growing, if that makes sense. Your frontal lobe developed by 25, 28 that helps you organize and be your mental manager. Yes, I believe that is what everybody were trying to say, is I don't think your mind stops growing. Yes, I think Michelle is correct, that it's your frontal lobe that stops developing after that. But you can continue to grow as a person. Your mind's not stuck. What was your 5 and 2 mile time before selection, assuming you were tracking? My 5 mile time was definitely under 40 minutes. I'm trying to remember. So I average think my 2 mile time was like 13 minutes. And then my 8 mile time, because I averaged, was 35 minutes. So I kept myself to a 7 mile pace for the 5 mile. So I did 35 miles, but for my 2 mile time, it was 2 minutes or 13 minutes. I find it terrifying that a couple of smart college students with a little bit of cash can make an extremely designated precision guided weapon. There are kids who have created. Wasn't there a kid who created in his garage, like a nuclear power, some sort of power source that was. You'd be surprised what people can do, right? But I think the important thing is to find those people and then get them on our side and quickly educate them into how this power stuff is. Yeah, there was a reactor. It was a nuclear reactor, if I remember correctly? And I think the kid was like 10 years old. I could be wrong, but I've been to MAPS 3 different times. I'm expecting to visit 4th time in May. Fingers crossed I'll pass this time. Right, Tony Stark. Well, Clifford 606, I hope you get through it. Whatever's keeping you through it, just keep it up. And for some reason, if you can't make it, readjust, find something else you might want to do, and just go at it. Just when one door closes, another one opens, and you never know. You could find a better life than you ever thought prior. Yeah. The radioactive boy's gonna. Yeah, but he was never functional. He just made a huge mess. But hey, the fact that he even got to that point, impressive. That's a failure right there. Couldn't even make it. I'm sure he learned from it. Do you have experience working with personnel from the Great Skill Program? Is it considered soft support or more conventional army? Paulum, great question. Anybody who's ever been in enough of my streams, I love when people bring up Great Skill. Let me fix that real quick, sorry. Okay, yeah. I love when people bring up Great Skill Program. It is one of the worst programs I have ever seen in my military career. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. So one, what Great Skill wants to be is they want to be the ISA, right? So for anybody who doesn't know, the Great Skill Program is this program where it's openly advertised in the Army as essentially what you think the ISA is. That's what the Great Skill Program claims to be, but they're not. Okay. So one, they don't have the authorities. 2, they don't have the funding. 3, they don't have the training. There's only one exception. So there's 5 jobs that you can have at Great Skill. The only one that's actually worth having is their human program, because their human guys actually get to go to the farm eventually. So it's not a bad deal. You work for a shitty unit, but you at least get to go to the farm. So that's not a bad idea. Everybody else, if you're SIGINT, and I forget the other 4 other jobs are, do not go there. Everybody who I've met in the Great Skill Program hates their life because basically they feel like they were lied into this unit that is just absolute horseshit, has no authorities to do anything, no funding, nothing. They just literally hate their lives. These people, like, you're supposed to be this special unit. These people have to show up in uniform, right? Like, there's nothing special about it. So, yes, Timo ISA. I like that. Fallen Angel, thank you. I'm gonna start using that from now on. Timo ISA. I like that. Yeah. You ever work with G Squadron? Yes, I have. What is the farm? Yeah, so it's CIA training, but it's not just the training. It's like so in the human world, so you learn how to handle sources. To become a full-fledged operative, like operational personnel in the CIA, you have to go to the farm. That's a part of it. And it's also the kind of last blessing in the human training pipeline, because you can handle sources before going to the farm, but the final level, like if like let's say that you're a tier 1 guy or even a tier 2 guy and you're doing source operations, if you want to be able to handle sources at a certain level, the final blessing off is you have to go to the farm. So they do send people who are not in the CIA to the farm to get that final level of training. That way you can pretty much have zero restriction when handling sources. So, but I think it's like 6-month training, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's like the CIA's operational source handler OTC, if you will. But it's more of a follow-on training, if you think about it like that. To be Clifford, to be honest, the ASVAB has gotten me multiple times in medical waivers injuries. I'm embarrassed by this. Always, I wanted to join. If I can't, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't like failure. So, Clifford, there's study guides for the ASVAB. If there's some pretty good ones. And honestly, I can already tell you're beating yourself up, man. Don't do it, man. Like, just prepare the best that you can. Give it the best shot that you can. But if for some reason, if it was just not in the cards, don't beat yourself up about it, man. You'll find something, right? Like I thought like when I went to go join the army and I was like, oh, I'm going to be an 18 X-ray. And when they told me I couldn't, I felt the same way that you do. I was like, what am I going to do? I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then the recruiter was like, hey, well, you can go get your language first. You can go become a linguist. And my initial reaction was like, no, that sounds dumb. I don't want to be a fucking linguist. But then when I really realized it, I was like, hey, there's actually a great opportunity. I can get my associate's degree. I can get a language. I get to go basically college for a year, and all I do is learn language every single day. You know? So it ended up working out for me. And then one of the reasons that I did that was, I didn't let, when one door closed for me, I didn't let it didn't keep me down. Yeah, it's not what I originally wanted to do, but I kept going. What's your favorite pistol and rifle to work with? I think by far the best rifle, combat rifle, is probably the 416. I think that, especially with the certain ammunition and the certain attachments, everything like that you can use with the 416, it is such an amazing weapon. Whether you're doing long range stuff, short range stuff, and as far as the pistol, I would say let me double check this. which one I'm talking about before I say, but it is a Glock. I used, um, let's see. So you really can't go wrong with a Glock. Um, just because they are so reliable, they're durable. Um, you can get them in so many different calibers. So what I personally have is I actually have a 9mm Glock for training, and then I actually operationally, what is I always forget the different Glock. Trying to remember which one I used. I also use the Glock 22, which is the 40 caliber version, and then I've also used uh, randomly we actually had the compact 45 caliber one as well. But I personally like. But also you have to remember when my job in ISA was to support blue and green, like at least the first 3 years. So I would bring whatever sidearms they used. So if I worked with blue versus green, it changed. So, but yeah, I actually really like um, the Glock 17, Glock 19, and I actually like the Glock 22, which is the full size 40 caliber. But 45, I would say, let me outside of Glocks, I am a big fan of 1911s and 45s. Um, I have a Smith and Wesson. I think it's what is it, M11 1945A, like the modern version of the 1911s. I have one of those, and I really like. I've always liked the way that the 1911s and the modern 1911s feel, as well. Does the CIA have a position where active military can work? Um, Aztec warrior, not. You can be augmented like to them usually like in the intelligence roles. Like if you are um not in a permanent position. You can go there for temporary positions, and that's usually more of deployments. Like when I was in active duty and I was in the unit, I worked with the CIA all the time, but I was not a CIA member. If you want to work with the CIA, you can either come and join them after you leave the military, either as a member of the CIA, or you can come in, which is probably the most common within Ground Branch, is you're actually a contractor for them, which actually gives you a lot of flexibility. Um, you prefer the 45 ACP USB. USB is a pretty good gun too. Um, how did you become support for special forces as a direct pipeline support? So when you come through, so in order to be support for special forces, you have to submit an airborne packet, and when you submit that airborne packet, you actually put in there as a request that you want to go to a special forces group, and you even get to like have a wish list of which special forces group. Like I think it's like the top 3 or top 5 that you want to go to. I think it was top 3. Mind you, this was 20 years ago, so I don't know how much this has changed. But yes, you put in an airborne packet because that's one of the requirements to go to special forces group is you have to be airborne qualified. So you put in an airborne packet, which is like, hey, I want to go to airborne school, and then you say, hey, I want to go to special forces group on top of that. Glock is the Toyota Camry of handguns. Well, Toyota Camry is one of the most reliable cars out there. So yeah, I think that's an appropriate. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. Appropriate um, not why I want to say similarization. That's not even a word. You know what I mean. Comparison. There you go. You need a sword, brother, for the wall. You know what's funny? You know what I actually have that I'm going. So I'm really big. So I spent a lot of my deployment in Africa, and I have a lot of masks from Africa. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting masks, and I have a whole bunch of them. I have them from Kenya, I have from Tanzania, I have them from Peru, I have them from Malawi. I have masks from a whole bunch of places. I like masks. And then also, I actually do have, so that from Kenya, that's from the Maasai culture. And I actually spent a lot of time in the Kenya, Tanzania, Somalia area. I actually have the shield and spears, which I actually have hung up before. I just don't think it was going to fit in this particular pan of. Eventually, I'm going to have a better studio, guys. I promise, right? I'm working with what I've got, right? So, don't hate on me. But it would be cool to have a sword. Yeah. All right. So I will do that. We'll put that on my to-do list. I will have for the next live at least, if not the next video, I will hang those bitches up. Yeah. And I think the angle that I've been typically doing, it should work. I can like stack them up in the angle. So it is what it is. All right. Let's get a few more questions in, and then we're gonna call it a night. So, can you describe the similarities between ISA assaulter and a CAG assaulter? Would an ISA be in the stack, so to speak? And I guess they have a different mission sets. So it's a good question, King Blunderbuss. So I wouldn't use the term ISA assaulter, right? There are the tactical detachment within ISA. Typically, when I was there, for the time that I was there, is to support SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force. And what they do is they learn enough. They get tactically good enough to be, yes, like in the stack. And so their job is one, to know enough that they don't get in the way, and then two, to keep up. And if anybody's never seen a Delta Force Tier 1 assaulters, how quickly they move when they assault, it is so fast that like you're like practically running. So it is actually very hard just to even get to the level to where you just keep up, right? And so our goal is to be there with them, right on their backs. If they need our support, cool, we're there. But we make sure that we're good enough that we don't get in the way and that we're right there with them. And a lot of what we do, at least specifically when we're typically with their recce troops. And so we're with the recce troops are usually your advanced assaulters who are in their advanced roles. And they also do assaulting. So we are sort of like that Swiss Army knife who, augmentees. So we're there with the really advanced, like we have all the tactical training that allows us to basically coexist with the recce teams, and we do our stuff. We help them in every way that we can, and if they need us to help them assault buildings, right, we're there. We know enough of what they do that we can keep up and try to help out, but we are definitely not as good as they are. I hope that was a good enough question. And we never will be, because we don't train on these skills every single day. They do. They train, they shoot every single day. They run CQB like almost every single day. So that's not what we do every day. We're like, ISA operators, even in the tactical judgment, we're kind of like our own Swiss Army knives. We're like the jack of all trades. We've got HUMINT, we've got SIGINT, we've got all these different intelligence disciplines. We have tradecraft, we have some semblance of tactical abilities. Can we handle ourselves? Because a lot of times we're out by ourselves, either in 1 or 2 man teams, 3, maybe 3 at the most, and we're operating so independently that we have to take care of ourselves. So. You can go full Sean Ryan, 100 bottles of liquor. Yeah, definitely could. I'm too lazy to do 100 bottles of liquor. How long could Canada last against in the U.S.? 5 minutes? Not very long. I feel like the Canadians do have their French origins, so maybe they'll surrender after 7 minutes. We'll give them the credit. Does it start World War III? No, I don't. Nobody. So one, they're here on our continent. Nobody's gonna give a shit, but we would never do that. What did you find to be the most challenging part of ISA selection, aside from cadre maintaining coincidence? Was it more physical, mental, or uncertainty driven? It's all three. It's definitely mental. It is very physical. Ours is not quite as physical as Delta selection, but it is very mental and is very uncertainty driven. That's definitely you having to have one, you don't know what's going to end, and then even when you get halfway through, you quickly realize that you have no idea what's about to happen, and you kind of have to get comfortable with that you have no idea what's about to happen. But you just have to do the best that you can, go as fast as you can, no matter you have no idea when these things are going to end, and you have no idea what's going to happen next. Do they do points of dominance like the restless plebes or master the basics? They do not do points of dominance. Let's see. Yes, there is a video online of Deltas. Yeah, you can find. I've seen videos of this. You can definitely find that stuff. What are your opinions on General Michael Nagata? He was a commander, wasn't he? If you can say. So Michael Nagata actually left right as I was graduating OTC. So I actually never served with him. When I got to the unit, he was basically gone. Do you have faith in our intelligence regardless of who's president? That's a tricky question, William Barry. Do you have faith in our intelligence? I think we have a very effective intelligence organizations. Let's just say with the CIA. Unfortunately, CIA does certain things depending on who runs it, and I think there have definitely been directors of the CIA who are better for the American people than certain directors of the CIA, if that makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's a very interesting situation when you think about who's president versus who's the director of the CIA, or the director of some of these other intelligence organizations. Some of them, do things with permission, sometimes without permission, ask for forgiveness later. There's a whole, and some of them have the ability of carte blanche to do certain things without needing permission. So I would always look. I think you should always be. I don't trust. Just never really truly trust, right? I think that's really what it comes down to. Is just I will never put my full trust really in anything, and I think that's the best way to go about it. What do you think the percentage of CAG retires out versus gets pushed out versus KIA? Very few people in CAG get killed, if that's what you're talking about. Do you guys ever work with civilian cyber security first? Yes. So one thing that you'll for all the tier 1 units, almost all the training that because we're typically the best at every field that we do. Like, we don't go to military training because it's not good enough. So most tier 1 units, most of the training you do at tier 1 units, you actually go to civilian vendors. So they find whoever is the best at those particular skills in the civilian world, and then we go train from them. We train for competition shooters. We go to race car driving school with actual race car drivers. We go sign the best civilian trackers in the world. We go find the best hackers in the world, who almost all these people are not in the military. They don't work for the government, and we go find them and we get training from them. Beer Shark, does Delta have their own intel guys like the team guys, or does ISA fill that role? So the intel guys in Delta, they help fulfill some of the intelligence gaps for their specific missions, right? ISA does things on a much larger scale and a much strategic, a strategic scale, if you will. Like, we're not just caring about our missions, we're also looking forward, like very kind of similar to the CIA does, is we're looking at mission things that could become missions, and we're trying to be in those places before we need to be there, and hopefully enable if something was to go down, we're already there. We already have access, we already have emplacement, and we can assist on whatever then operation that needs to happen very quickly. So we're constantly in places before they become issues. And when you do, we're in the right place at the right time. That's what ISA does, or one of the things. Do you think it would ever be necessary to suspend posse comitatus? See, now you're just using big words. Now I got to look it up. I've heard this word, the Posse Comitatus Act. It's a act of 1878 that generally prohibits the use of federal military personnel, by extension, from engaging in domestic civilian law enforcement activities such as making arrests, or it was ending act of the Civil War. No, we're never going to. I don't think we're ever going to take away posse comitatus. We have things like, for example, if the CIA or Delta Force want to do something, they have to do it in, like, they have to be with, like, the FBI or something like that. But that typically doesn't really happen. But that is never really going to go away, because we do really try to keep our assets that work foreign. Like, for example, the CIA cannot work domestically, but if they want to be a sort, they have to do it with the CIA. There's kind of things like that. So no, they're not going to get rid of that. I think that's in place for a good reason. Do you think it would ever be necessary? Daniel Phipps, you better trust Christ. You know, everybody can trust whoever they want. I trust in myself. So, but if people want to trust in Christ, they can. I'm a very self-sufficient person. I believe that nobody is coming for me. So I put all my trust and faith in myself. So, interesting. What do civilians provide that three-letter agencies can't? Obviously within what you speak about, just a high-level overview. You'd be actually surprised. A lot of people, well, there's a lot of civilians who have skills much higher than people in the three-letter agencies, because you have to think about individual skill. Like, let's take hacking, right? I can tell you the best hackers in the world do not work for government agencies. The best race car drivers, the best drivers do not work for the government agencies, you know? And to be honest, if you're like in a tier 1 element, there's actually very few things that anybody in the three-letter agencies does better than you do. So that's what I'm saying. Like, tier 1 guys, we go to the civilian world of things. Yeah. Beer Shark 7. So what would the intel guys on the team be more focused? Like SSE and integration focused? No, not necessarily. They're doing their operations when they know they have operations, and if they know that they're going to be out, like, they do similar stuff to what we do, or what I did. They just don't do it. It's on a much smaller scale, and it's really just centered around what their unit may or may not need. We just do things on a much larger strategic level, like throughout the world. Do you think the U.S. military needs another 5,000 more combat troops? No, I don't think they do, because our military strength has never been about our numbers. Have you ever watched an angry argument match between agencies? All the time. CIA has really big problems with FBI. The NSA, CIA butt heads a lot. DIA butts head with a lot of people. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. So, all right. I think, yeah, nerds are gonna fight. I will tell you this: intelligence agencies and intelligence-focused organizations are unfortunately some of the most catty, toxic organizations I've ever been in. All right, someone asked me in one of these podcasts to rate of the 5 tier 1 units which one is the most toxic, right? And which one is like the most professional or least toxic, right? So, number 1, the most professional, least toxic tier 1 unit is Delta Force. The second and third is probably the RRC and the 24th STS. The two most toxic and unprofessional tier 1 units is ISA and SEAL Team 6. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, it's I will say, Dark Dithy Wizard, that ISA and SEAL Team 6, they definitely put in they're definitely competing for that title of most toxic, right? I will tell you that ISA treats their support personnel better than SEAL Team 6 does. If you guys ever want a job where you want no appreciation no matter what you do, go be a support guy at SEAL Team 6. Brand Black 47. Hey, so I actually starting my online coaching business. I've already had a couple people reach out, and I'm onboarding some clients. If you want to, Brand Black 47, send me an email. I haven't put up the link to my online coaching yet, but I'll let everybody know. I'll put out a video when I put that up. So I'm already doing some selection prep training and other fitness stuff, and I'm also doing some people have actually asked for mental preparation training for actually going to selection. So yeah, getting rid of DEI in the military was definitely something that needed to be done. Do you ever miss it? Sometimes, but I think that I was there, I did it, and it's time for the younger generation to come in, and it's time for me now to take the lessons that I have learned and use them to be in service of others. And I think that's my purpose now. I think that's my role, is to be in service of everybody else, especially the younger generation coming in. I want to help people better prepare for this type of stuff, have better knowledge, and just go in with it, hitting the ground running. So I think that's the best way to do it. All right. I don't know why this chat. Oh, that's why. I had this thing scroll down like an idiot, so I apologize. Why? It's not like ISA goes after its previous operators for starting a YouTube channel. Well played, sir. Well played. Fallen Angel 35. I appreciate you, brother. Oh, that's funny. When you know, you know. Maybe it has to do with my age. Are SEALs on average younger than Army guys? So definitely, the average age in Delta Force is definitely higher than the average age in SEAL Team 6. A lot of internet colonels say the U.S. forces are paper thin, like Southeast Asia theater. You also have to remember that we spend, I think, more in funding than the next 17 countries combined, 13, 17 countries combined. Numbers is not like think we're like, air forces are ridiculous. I think we have 3 out of the top 4, three out of the 4 largest air forces. So would you ever consider talking about military stuff with gaming background in the video? Because I'm sorry, it's dinosaur shit. Would you ever consider talking about military stuff with a gaming background in the video? I I might be stupid, but I think I'm misinterpreting this question. Would you ever consider talking about military stuff with a gaming background in the video? Are you asking if I would game while talking about stuff? Like I'm streaming gaming while we have these lives? Is that what you're asking? What's Delta favorite T-Rex? Oh, okay, gaming while talking. You know what? I do love gaming, right? And one of the reasons why I don't really game is because I don't really have as much time anymore. But if you guys would be cool with it and I could game while talking, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Um, yeah. So it's been a hot second. And then honestly, you guys have to we have to do some polls, see what games you guys might want to hear. And if honestly, if that was good enough, I might even make a separate channel for it. But we can definitely have those discussions. And you're not the first person who've asked this, Brandon Black. It's definitely something I would find because I enjoy video games. I really do. And if I could do it while on live, I think that would hit both. Like I get to stream, I get to talk to you guys, and I get a little bit of gaming in. So let's see. Are you going to war for the industrial complex? I'm in an army SF going through the courses. Dark Withy Wizard, I know you have to go soon. Any predictions on the Iran collusion outcome? I don't think. I think that we are going to. I think we're going to conclude the Arab campaign in the next 2 3 weeks. I really don't see. There's really not that much to bomb left, and I think if we walk away in the next 2 weeks without ever putting troops down in mainland Iran, I think that's a huge W. All right. You know what, Chicken Stars? You're like, I can already see it. Tier one operator plays Call of Duty. Look, you guys have to remember, I'm old, right? And like my mouse game, I'm not the greatest gamer in the world. I would like to be because I'm the type of person who's obsessed with always trying to be the best at everything. Like I try. Like when I was playing, I didn't really play Call of Duty that much. I think I played it on Xbox. But as a computer guy, like once I transferred to computer out of consoles, Escape from Tarkov. I definitely tried to be the best Escape from Tarkov player I can have. But I think that I just because I did not grow up with mouse and keyboard, I'm not the greatest mouse and keyboard. So I think be like, hey, tier one operator put Calls of Duty, right? I think I'm just gonna disappoint people with my skill level, right? Like the kids just out here. I'm literally, you know what you're gonna do? We're gonna be on the stream, we're gonna be talking, and I'm gonna have 12-year-olds spanking, like just beating the shit out of me, making fun of me, and they're like, "Oh, dude, just killed tier one guy." Blah 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 blah. Like we care, right? But it will be slightly embarrassing. But you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. You know what is it? What's that quote that I heard Austin Butler say, and I forget where he heard it from. Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself. I like that. What about Ready or Not? What is Ready or Not? I remember hearing that. What is Ready or Not? See, look, now you guys already know how to keep me on the stream. I got shit to do, and you're like, let's talk video games. Is this a game or is it a film? Bro, I'd get stream sniped so bad. Not like they need to stream snipe me just to beat me. What were your max pull-ups, bench press, 2 mile truck, and 2 run time? Um, I could do about 15 pull-ups at a time without rest. Bench press. Honestly, I've never been that great of a bencher. Like I weigh 230 pounds. I Like when I'm training, I get to 315, but most people who are even smaller than me can bench more than I can. I typically always try to stay around where I can bench around 275. So I think that was probably around 275 when I was benching. Best 12-mile ruck time. I don't actually remember. So when I was in really good rucking shape, I always try to average be around 12-minute miles. So whatever 12 times 12 is, right? I would probably float somewhere between 12 and a 12-minute mile 30. Yeah, so I think it was a sub 230, or it was around 230, if I remember correctly. I can't really do the math. Math hurts my head. Let's look at that. So 12 times 12 divided by yeah, it was I would have been somewhere around 2.5 hours. Would have been my 12 muck royal time. And 2 mile run time, I typically float around 13. So I used to run when I first joined the military, and I was 180 pounds when I joined the military. I quickly, like, I wanted to be bigger, and I gained about 50 pounds in the first couple years. So I sit now somewhere between 220 and 230. And the second that I crossed over 200 pounds, because I was actually on the DLI run team when I first joined, and I was 180 pounds, I was running sub 11 minute 2 miles. And the second that I got over 200 pounds, I stopped maxing the run. I would run around 13 minutes. So I always try at my weight to be at least below a 13:30, but I always try to be around 13 minutes. It's just it's hard to be a sub 12-minute guy anymore at 230 pounds. Yeah, but mind you, I was a college soccer player, and I was 180 pounds at 6'2". So yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah. I was I was really fast when I was 180 pounds. Like yeah, just college soccer, everything. Uh, I think I put up in the workout video I did. There's a quick clip of it, and it actually shows me when I was 21 years old, and you can see how skinny I was. Um, and that's right as I started getting into bodybuilding when I first started working out when I was 21 years old. And then that picture, I'll post it up somewhere. It's very grainy because it was on, the cell phone technology back in 2006 was El Horrible. But I'll show you a picture of how skinny I was. Um, did you train grip strength and farmer's carry? Yes, I actually always do. One, I almost always never wear gloves. The only time that I will wear something is if I'm doing if I do straps, and that's usually if I'm doing either bent over rows or deadlifts. But everything else, I always try to train my grip. I don't know if you can see this, but I always have calluses for days because I always train my grips. Who is better, SAS, SBS, or Delta? Delta by far, but because Delta just has a budget, and they're not just their budget, but like the American military is so just gives them the ability to do whatever they need to do. The SAS and the SBS, especially in the last like five years, is really getting hamstrung by their own government. They literally have their own guys. They're trying their own guys for like war crimes. And they followed orders. So they're roasting their own guys. Like there's a lot of crap going on in England right now, and the SAS is really getting screwed. And then on top of that, Delta has like 10 times the budget that the SAS does. It's just you can't compete. Yeah, it's honestly it's a shame. How many guys do you think are in Delta? What, at a time? Less than. It's definitely less than 300, maybe less than 200. I forget it. I think it's like less than 300. Because they've got like 6 squadrons. Each squadron they've got there's 4 Saber squadrons. Each squadron has 2 assault troops, 1 recce troop. I think it's less than 200. I don't really know how big their other squadrons aren't really that much. They're non-Saber squadrons. I'm actually not sure how big those are. How many people are in them nowadays? Like they change. So, do you think we'll have to liberate the UK? If the UK has to be liberated, oh man, we got some problems. Yeah, we got some problems. That's funny. All right, guys, I appreciate you. I'm gonna call it a night. I have not eaten. I have to actually do meal prepping this week. So, the Into the Breach podcast that I just did with Ethan Nagel is coming out tomorrow morning. We actually sat and spoke for 5.5 hours. I think Ethan Nagel is awesome. If you haven't seen the Into the Breach podcast, Brent Tucker was on there. He's got an awesome lighting setup. He's an awesome cinematographer. And we just had a really awesome conversation for like 5.5 hours. So, and then I also, as soon as I was done, I actually got on the phone and then did an interview with Green Beret Chronicles because he wanted to do a reaction to my Joe Kent video. So he called. I'm actually in the Into the Breach podcast studio when I do it, which Ethan was nice enough to allow me to do it. Because I flew all the way to Minneapolis to do an in-person recording with him. And Jay, who's the guy at Green Beret Chronicles, he says that will be out Friday. So you guys should, Green Beret Chronicles will be out. And then anybody who doesn't know, I actually already went down and did my recording with Brent Tucker. I did do the Tier 1 podcast. He already has a couple episodes already like before me. So when it's going to come out eventually in the next couple weeks, but he wants to put them out in a certain order. It won't be necessarily the order that we recorded, but when I was there, he already had 5 podcasts that he already recorded. So it might take a couple weeks, may take a month, but eventually you guys will see my podcast with Brent Tucker, the Tier 1 podcast. So, but I will say, coming up, I am first week of April. I am going to do a podcast with the biggest YouTuber yet. He's one of the top 5, not Sean Ryan. He is one of the top 5 within the military space. I won't give it away until I'm on my way there, but I'm actually really excited. This guy has probably 400,000 or 500,000 subscribers, and I'm really excited to do his podcast. So that will be the first week of April. That recording will be April 6th, and I will talk to you. Yeah, so that's what we got going on, and then I'm going to try to put out some more videos. I do want to do a mental health video this week. I do want to talk about identity and the issues that people have when they leave the military, when they leave first responders, everybody else, and tying their identity to their professions, and then the mental issues that it creates. So I think that's going to be the next one. I could do another Iran video, like part 3, where I talk about the different proxies in the Codes Force. So, you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll put up a poll, see what people want to be the next video. And then obviously I want to continue to expand on the physical fitness stuff now that I finally did my foundational video, which is about 6 months long overdue. All right. Chicken stars. You're not wrong, brother. All right. Well, you guys, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's always a fucking blast for me. I just appreciate talking to you guys. Um, and you know, be as awesome in intelligence as Chicken Stars is. You know, it is what it is. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.